There is a unique flavor of frustration that comes with being overlooked. Like if you've ever been to a restaurant, you're the one that's going to be paying the bill and the server comes and hands the check to someone else. Or you're in a meeting, you share an idea, nobody listens. A few minutes later, somebody repeats it and they get the credit. You just get this sinking feeling like your presence, your power isn't landing in the room. And if you've ever felt this, you're not alone. While I think the frustration of being overlooked is bad enough, I think what makes it worse is there's this assumption that in order to be heard, it requires some kind of exaggerated alpha move, like you've got to peacock your accomplishments or dominate a conversation. We hear command the room. And for many of us, that's just not an option. It doesn't feel authentic, and frankly, it's exhausting. So today, I want to share an alternate path for credibility, one that works, but it's also aligned with who you are. In this episode, I'm going to share with you a credibility equation that's grounded in ancient wisdom and modern research. And by the end of this episode, I want you to feel liberated from ever having to micromanage your way to confidence and presence, and instead be supported by a structure that not only allows you to reliably establish trust, primes you for influence, but does so in a way that is inherently yours. So if you're new here, welcome to Read the Room. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Mary Falkenstern. Let's dive in. Okay, so I'm going to start. We're going to go back to ancient times and ground ourselves in the work of Aristotle. In his book, Rhetoric, which is the book on persuasion, he shares that the most important mode of persuasion is credibility. I want to share a quote. He says, "It is not true, as some writers assume in their treatises on rhetoric, that the personal goodness revealed by the speaker contributes nothing to his power of persuasion. On the contrary, his character may almost be called the most effective means of persuasion he possesses." So why? Why did he consider ethos, which is credibility, the most important mode of persuasion? Well, if you think about it, pathos, which is the emotional appeal, that would be storytelling. Logos, which is the logical appeal. Think of what I'm doing right now, actually, with Aristotle, bringing him into this conversation is some kind of evidence that I have to support that credibility is important. While both of those are really powerful, they're both situational. You will employ them toward a specific argument. However, ethos, which is credibility, is integrated into your character. So as a speaker, it precedes you and it follows you. It's persistent. So if you don't have a character that people trust, you don't have the right, you didn't earn the right to even open people's minds to your logic or your emotional appeal. So we know that credibility is fundamentally important. Then what are we supposed to do with this? Because trust is this nebulous word. And I have found when people bring up trust, they often will say things like, just be authentic. While that might be a useful starting point, to me, that is just not specific enough to be helpful. However, luckily, we have an answer to this question that comes from research. It reiterates what Aristotle said. And frankly, I think it just passes the gut check. And it comes from Susan Fiske. And essentially what Susan Fiske was looking at, she was looking at what are we assessing when we meet somebody for the first time, okay? And what she found is we are reflexively asking two questions, and they're sequential. The first one is, does this person have good intent toward me? And that is correlated with the quality of warmth. The second is, can this person deliver? Which is associated with the quality of competence. And these, again, are sequential. We've got to feel like this person has our best interest at heart first before we would open to even vet them for their competence. So if we frame this as an equation, it looks like this. Credibility equals warmth plus competence divided by integrity. But if we overly reduce that, it would sound like this person is nice and good at what they do. And that is not what we're saying. I want to share with you not how to do this, because there are endless ways that you can establish warmth and you can showcase capability. But Instead of getting lost in the overwhelm of all the ways, I have found that if you ask one question for each of these and in your preparation, you answer them, you really do the excavating work to front load what people need from you to establish credibility, that you get significant return on your investment when you show up to that meeting. So let's start with warmth. Does this person have my best interest at heart? So you want to identify first, before you start preparing any other part of your content, what's the desired outcome and why does it matter for your listeners? This might sound obvious, but I can't tell you how many people, when they go to prepare, just start telling you their agenda, all the things they're going to say, me, 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 me. If it is not focused on serving these people, they will feel it right from the front end that your prep was all about you, proving yourself, protecting yourself from mistakes. So this is what it would look like in preparation. You're having an internal team meeting. Your intent is to align on priorities for the quarter. Okay, so that's the desired outcome. For example, just name it and then just say, so what? So that what? What's in it for them? Why do they care about aligning on this? So you say, well, I want to align on this so that they feel ownership over it. So you keep asking, so what, till you get to something where you're like, oh yeah, that's motivating for them. That is hitting a priority of theirs. You may find in this preparation, you don't know enough about your listeners. Go do some research. So this is not necessarily just a sit down and write it down. Just because you wrote it down doesn't make it good. It's got to serve the people that you're talking to. Now, we are talking about words here, but trust really is pre-verbal. So this is about aligning in you how you're serving people. You're using language just to articulate it. Then when you show up, we get into the paralinguistics, the body language, the tone of voice. I am not a fan, unless somebody is blocked, of coaching too hard to this. Because think about if you really wanted to share a message, you're not thinking about your word choice. You're not thinking about your tone. You need to connect so deeply with that intent. So the best coaching I could give to paralinguistics is to get behind your words. And if you're going to focus on something, see one person at a time. That eye contact establishes trust. Then you go, so here's the question that you want to ask in your preparation around competence. There's one question, and what you'll do is you'll ask, what do they need from me to trust that I can deliver? What do they need from me? You can brainstorm it. They may need to hear that you've worked with a similar client in the past. They may need, some people say don't use jargon. You talk to a technical person, sometimes they want to hear that you speak their language. You know what's up. You can talk shop with them. That might be important to these listeners. You may also need to use more certain language. You may need to say the best way to do this and be more succinct, get right to the point so that the people go, oh, this isn't just an associate. This person has the stuff to deliver. They can do this. Because here's the thing, the key has to be that your ego can't win. What they need, you've got to flex yourself. It won't always be in your comfort zone. But if you're talking to internal stakeholders and you are trying to, move them towards your idea, which means you will probably have to take that idea on the road somewhere, then you need to showcase that you have the ability to present out, that you have the capability to command a room. You might need to show that because they're going to want to see that to trust that you can own that idea. Listen to what you really believe they need from you and then deliver on it. So let's pull this all together. Credibility matters because it is fundamental for trust. No trust, no influence. Think credibility equals warmth plus competence divided by integrity. Warmth is about intent. What's your desired outcome? Why does it matter for your listeners? Competence, show your listeners that you can deliver. And lastly, integrity is the follow through. Consistently deliver on your promises. This becomes your character and ultimately your reputation. And it's okay if you don't know your bigger purpose. This is the work that will iterate towards you getting that next big opportunity. And if you're doing this work, you will. So thank you for joining me today. If you resonated with this, please hit subscribe, like, and share with somebody who has big ideas that need to be heard. Until next time, cheers.